Good morning. Welcome to those of you who are joining us virtually and those of you present here at All Souls Unitarian Church of Indianapolis. I'm Crystal Francis. My pronouns are she, her. I will be serving as your worship associate for today's service. Together with Nazreen Khan, coordinator for programs and communications, pronouns she, her, and Sarah Cannon, director of children's and community programming, pronouns she, her, and Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, our senior minister, pronouns she, ella. We are your worship team on the chancel today. In addition, we got a special guest, Jean Miller, All Souls board president, pronouns she, her, will also be joining us today. Love is the spirit of All Souls. If you're visiting us today, we are glad you're here with us. While nursery care is available, we really enjoy having people of all ages welcome in our service. Hey, guys. We invite you to fill out our connection card. This card helps us to know how best to stay connected and to support you on life's journey. We welcome you and invite you to bring your whole self as you join us in worship today. If you'd like some extra support for this life's journey, our caring team, which is an extension of the ministry team, is here to support you. You can reach the team by calling All Souls and leaving a message, or by email at pastoralcare@allsoulsindy.org. Our Souls Matter theme this month is delight. Check it in the know to get the packet. It's in the upper left-hand corner. I sometimes miss it, but it's there. So you can engage with the materials at home or at All Souls in person and online. Now, Reverend Katie's going to give us a few words.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It is so good to be back and see you all. Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be clear and able to be in public and be unmasked and all that jazz, though still supporting the mask usage because we learned a lesson, didn't we? You know, I gotta tell you, you have to feel like theologically there may be something larger going on when you're in the middle of rewriting a COVID policy and 21% of people present at an event get COVID. So, okay, great question mark, we're listening. And the board is currently reviewing that policy, and we will get back to you soon with what that looks like. And for me, I still have some fatigue and brain fog. I've also been forgetting people's names more so than usual. So if I stare at you blankly, please don't hesitate to help me out. Hopefully, I'll be back to my normal status soon, but we'll see. I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Nasreen and Judy Lumbert, who've done a ton of prep work to prepare to welcome our new members today that we will enthusiastically welcome in just a short bit, so thank you. And we have something really special happening after service today. We're going to head all out to coffee hour, and the Channing Club has some amazing stuff out, and the board has some sandwiches coming, and Jean and the board are going to run an open question session. All the tables are already set up. There's even butcher block paper for those of us who like to write on the paper. Our questions will be, what is helping you to catch the glow this year at All Souls? Because if you remember, the board cast that vision that we come into All Souls and we're kind of like, after our week, and then we catch the glow, and then we go out into our week and we're so excited and we share the glow, and then we come back in maybe a little bit without the glow and we catch it again. So what is helping you catch the glow? What changes have you longed for? And what are you willing to do to help others catch the glow? If you're online, I hope you're going to like and share this video and maybe chat with each other in the chat. And I'd like to invite you now, in this moment of your shared journey, to feel witnessed and honored wherever you are in your journey. May you remember that whether you are here for the first time or the thousandth, whomever you are, whomever you love, whatever your ability, gender, beliefs, political affiliation, or documentation status, you are welcome here, and you are never alone. Let us now greet our neighbors, especially our new or returning people, and we'll return when the music begins. Thank you. Thank you so much, Liz. I have a colleague who loves to remind her congregation all the time that a noisy sanctuary is a sign of a healthy congregation. So these explosions of joy during the welcome and throughout the service from people of all ages, they are signs of health, and they are signs that we are generating energy for that glow. Let us now center ourselves more deeply in this glow with the words of Julian Soto. I cannot prove to you that I am a person, but you can hold my hand cool and dry while we pray or just breathe, ragged breaths catching on our aching ribs. I cannot prove to you that my brown skin is holy, that black skin is sacred, but you can know it. Luminous and irrepressible, the tabernacle of your own liberation. I cannot even prove to you that every queer body, every trans and NB body, every ace and bisexual body sings back to the universe immense generative power of yes. I cannot prove to you with quadratic certainty that what a disabled body holds is a story of wisdom beyond perfection, like a red sun emerging from behind a cloud of dust. So the answers I have for a country hacking up a death rattle and a democracy with a wheezing waxy pallor are about our courage to love. Our depression not only for survival, but also to tread above the worst of our collective nature and to get each other free. Unashamed that there came a day when we were willing to risk looking foolish simply to stay together and alive. Come, let us worship.
Oh, maybe we're okay. There we go. It was on before, I promise. The ritual of lighting our chalice reminds us to continually live in to our covenant, to put into action, and to live out the community of love and justice we aim to be. Please rise in body or spirit as we say these adapted chalice lighting words from James Philip Lake, the same words we have spoken since 1903, and thank you to Lily for lighting our chalice this morning. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. You may be seated.
It is time to welcome our new members. So I invite staff, volunteers, and new members to please come forward, perhaps using the ramp to join us on the chancel. Because we gather here this morning to honor the newest members who have joined this congregation over the course of its now 120 years of history, more than 120, no, 120, right? Yes. We gather as an expression of our mutual quest toward personal and religious fulfillment. We gather secure in the knowledge that the truths we seek are not constrained by doctrine or creed. We recognize that each is here for reasons known only to the individual heart, and yet we gather in common fellowship. And please do come up, Verlin and Claire as well. Come on and join us. Verlin and Claire just joined this morning. Yes. We recognize, again, that each is here for reasons known only to their individual heart. And we don't ask that you believe unquestioningly that which is espoused by another's consciousness or convictions. We only ask that you follow faithfully that which your conscience dictates, mindful that in your searching you will encounter other truths and other convictions and other faiths. Here you will be embraced as a member of a common family of faith seekers, all those past and present who've dedicated themselves to nurturing action and compassion, sympathetic to a common vision that no one person is an island unto themselves, but that we are all members of a larger family of life, accountable to each other.
Hi, my name's Nasreen Khan. I'm the Adult Programs and Communications Coordinator. So new members, as I call your name, I invite you to step up to the chancel so that we may covenant together. Kate Gill Cressley. Celeste Jaffe, Verlin Major, Claire Major. And now I'll read the names of new members that could not make it today, but we'd like to honor just the same. Deborah Lee, Rex Anderson, and Mickey Hughes. New members, please read the new member affirmation printed in your order of celebration.
As new members, we accept the responsibilities and freedoms associated with membership in the Unitarian Universalist congregation. To pledge to support the service community with our time, gifts, and substance, and to join the members of All Souls, common cause of religious and spiritual understanding, for the common purpose of human progress and transnational laws.
Thank you.
Will the congregation please rise in body or spirit and share the congregational affirmation printed in your order of celebration? We bid you welcome as you come with anticipation and joy. We hope that you will find here room to grow and flourish in mind, body, and spirit. We accept you into our community as companions in the spiritual journey. We pledge to rejoice with you in times of happiness, to grieve with you in times of sorrow, and to share with you all the blessings of our free faith.
As you cross this spiritual threshold into the deeper life of our congregation and journey together, let us share these words from Unitarian forebearer Theodore Parker to serve as our guidepost, and we can read these all together. They're in your order of celebration. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual, works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. Let us create some ruckus applause in welcome. Welcome. I think Nasreen also has a gift for you all. Welcome. Yes. Thank you. I give to you the words of the Reverend Suzelle Lynch. A great many Unitarian Universalist congregations celebrate the flower ceremony, also known as flower communion, each spring. We love the way it brings the earth's colorful beauty into our midst, and it reminds us of the power of working together despite all of the forces that conspire to divide us. We love to observe each other's faces as we choose a flower, especially the faces of our children. We remember that just as each flower is unique, so is each person's life unique and worthy. Together, the flowers transform, becoming a bouquet that would not be as beautiful, even if one flower were left out. And we know that this is how it is with community, too. Each and every one of us is part of our community's beauty and purpose. Each and every one of us is valued and respected. In addition, the flower communion reminds us that we can and must work to shift our world towards greater peace, equity, sustainability, and justice for all, that we can and must help to liberate others. Our first song, You Bring an Aster, is a hymn that brings to life the messages and meanings of the Flower Communion with a simple, upbeat melody.
We have the lyrics in our order of celebration. Feel free to sing with us.
We pause in this moment to be present to the joys and sorrows of this community and the world. We hold in our hearts all who are suffering from illness, family challenges, financial or food insecurity, grief and loss. We pause to hold in our hearts the 300 lives lost and 900 injured in India due to the multiple train crash on Friday. And we pause to celebrate the births, including yesterday's birth of Kayla Parker's daughter. And birthdays, promotions, celebrations, and Pride Day. Pride Day brings us all closer together. Breathe with me in this moment as we use our collective power to be present to the injustices affecting the LGBTQ community. As you share a flower today, appreciate its beauty. Recall the light that lets us see it. Be joyful for every flower and every soul in our community, knowing that we do not stand alone in fighting injustice. This past legislative session in Indiana has been oppressive to the LGBT community. The slate of hate as the list of anti-LGBTQ legislation is known, resulted in new unfortunate laws, including House Enrolled Act 1608, which bans discussion of human sexuality in schools for pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade, with the intended effect of banning discussion or even acknowledgement of LGBTQ people. And Senate Enrolled Act 480, which is a ban on gender-affirming care, preventing families and doctors from providing age-appropriate, evidence-based care for youth who require it. This law is aimed at transgender children. Gratitude and joy is extended to all who showed up to support LGBTQ rights, those who protested at the State House, those who wrote and called their legislators, those who contacted the governor's office, those who participated in and contributed to the advocacy groups who continue to fight hate legislation. This includes our local ACLU, which continues to file lawsuits opposing the violations of constitutional rights specifically aimed at transgender youth, their parents, and medical providers. Thanks for speaking up for the LGBTQ people at whom the hate laws were directed. For those suffering from this hate-filled legislation, know that All Souls stands with you, recognizing the inherent rights and worth of each individual. We are not alone in our support of justice. We are living in times when it may feel like each step forward is accompanied by 2 steps back, particularly here in Indiana, home of my home. Our job is to remember the quote that Martin Luther King Jr. made famous. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Keep up your efforts to be heard despite the sorrow this atmosphere of hate brings.
In the depths of our soul, there where lies the source of strength, where divine and human need. There quiet your mind, quiet, quiet. Outside let lightning rain, horrible darkness frighten the world. But from the depths of your soul, from that silence will rise again the flower of God. Return to yourself, rest in yourself. Live in the depths of your soul, where divine and human meet. Tune your heart to the eternal, and in the depths of your soul, your panting quiets down. Quiet,
Oh, wow. Each week we gather together to align our giving with our values. We give to support the ministries and missions of our congregation and share half of our weekly offering with an organization whose values align with ours. This week, we are donating to Trinity Haven. For more information, you can find Trinity Haven online at www.trinityhavenindy.org. Trinity Haven provides safe, affirming housing for LGBTQ youth, ages 16 to 21, who are experiencing housing instability. It was created to help the nearly 70% of LGBTQ youth experiencing homelessness due to being rejected by their families because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. It is estimated that 72 youth who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning are homeless on any given night in Indianapolis. To contribute, you can gift cash or a check into the collection plate, or if online, you can go to allsoulsindy.org, where you will find a link that says Give to All Souls here on the left side. It's beneath the description for today's service. Please indicate if your gift is a pledge payment or if it is for Share the Plate, if you're paying it online or using a check. Thank you for your generosity in supporting the mission of All Souls and for your continued love for one another and for this world. Take this moment to make your gift. The morning offering may now be given and gratefully received.
Father Spirit, where are you? In the sky song, in the forest songs you cry. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? Many drops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? I am empty, time flies from me, what is time? Dreams eternal, fears infernal haunt my heart. What to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So I want to share with you all one of my favorite stories that might have happened somewhere in New York. Some of you may have heard it before. It's about a special place that could be called Joe's Diner. It's a story of love and justice that begins more than 100 years ago in a vacant lot where two people met. Joe was an Italian immigrant. Joanne, she was on that land because she was of indigenous heritage and it was the unceded land of her people. Both knew that they wanted a place to belong in the big city, to feel welcome, to feel at home. So, Joe and Joe took this vacant lot and turned it into a meeting place for families and for revolutionaries. generations of Joes ran the diner. Each generation welcoming new revolutionaries, setting about changing the world. As the neighborhood changed, each Joe added a new dish to welcome neighbors. Well, the most recent Joe found it was time to make their mark because a whole bunch of vegans had moved into the area. And this was it. This was their big chance to join the legacy of Joes in creating a space of welcome. So Joe did some research online, read some articles, got a People for Ethical Treatment of Animals banner, posted that baby outside, got a separate fryer, created an entire menu of salads with amazing dressings that were gourmet. Joe's doing great, right? And then Joe went even farther. Because this was a place revolutionaries had met for ages, because the world is on fire from climate change, Joe went a bit farther and invited vegan groups to meet at Joe's. Free space. There's a little back room that was one of the many additions over the years. So space was offered. Well, and in the beginning, all the vegans went wild over those salads and those crispy not chicken fingers. But over time, people started ordering less. And the groups got a little bit smaller. So one day, as Joe was wondering about what was happening with their great legacy of welcome, right? Joe got courageous and asked one of the vegans, have we done something wrong? Is my staff being unwelcoming? What can we do to make it right with you? And this is a courageous moment, right? Because it's never easy to be like, hey, do you have the bandwidth to have this conversation with me right now? Because I'm going to ask some hard questions and you might need to tell me some hard things, but I'm going to be with you, right? It's hard to go to that vulnerable place and also to be with someone who may have a marginalized identity and ask them to have that conversation with you, right? So, and Joe had done their work in terms of talking to allies, and allies were just like, you got the banner, you got the name tags, you got the salads, what else is there, right? So there was no other way to do it except to have this conversation. And the vegan did what I just kind of sighed and gently touched Joe's arm and said, Joe, we love you. And I grew up in this neighborhood, and I'm always going to come here. But we are so bored of salad and not chicken finger. This happens. We can do everything we think is the right thing to be welcoming to someone who has an identity that is not their own and still miss the mark. And that's because we need to stay in conversation to find out what people's needs really are and to be ready to support those emerging needs. And this is why, All Souls, we need a welcoming congregation team. Now, some of you may say, what do you mean by welcoming? We've got an amazing hospitality team. People are greeting me outside, and they're greeting me inside, and they're inviting me to coffee hour. Yes. We are warm, loving, welcoming people. This is true. The term welcoming congregation and the term welcoming team comes from a process that began many decades ago in Unitarian Universalism when we came together and said, we need to intentionally do work to be welcoming to the LGBTQ community. And we, UUA, created a process that congregations could go through in order to be welcoming congregations, to be certified as welcoming congregations. And we did that. Folks who led that process, can we love you? Can you just identify yourselves? Thank you. And everyone who shows up to continue to do the work of being welcoming, thank you. Also, the team sunset, because that's what we did in those days. We would sunset things. Sunset means they go away. But what we know from Joe's is that we need to stay in conversation. And you know what? For maybe 5 years or more, All Souls has not been a certified welcoming congregation. So we're still doing some of the right things, but the process has changed because we know now that we need to stay in conversation, that we need to be ready to pivot and support when legislation is happening. We need to keep doing our work of supporting people within our community that are from the LGBTQ community, if we're allies. We have more work to do to be a truly welcoming congregation. So if you're interested in being a part of this team, let me tell you some of the work that we would get to do together. This new process, and as I'm talking, you're going to say like, hey, we do that. Yes, we do a lot of this already. But we really need a team to shepherd it, to stay in conversation with me and with the right voices to help go through the certification process every year, to stay intentional. There's a similar path and process for us to keep our green sanctuary status. So I'm going to put that out there too. So this is an expectation, first of all, for Unitarian Universalist congregations to be welcoming spaces. That is one of our first practices, is embracing this expectation that we will continue to do the work and we will fill out the Welcoming Congregations application. And when I say application, it's not like one of those 20-pagers. It's not like that. Second practice of welcoming is incorporating welcoming worship services. What we're doing right now, having this conversation, is a part of the certification process. It also means that even if laws change, you empower me to continue to marry people because that is their right. And that we will religiously stand behind all people and say, you have the right to be married. We will fight for that right. We're not just going to say love is love, but we are going to show up and fight for that right. You have the right to your body, to your medications, and we will fight for that right. And we will empower our religious professionals to continue to support people in that fight and to put infrastructures in place so we can show up. The third practice of renewal is welcoming days of observance and remembrance. So you'll remember in November, we had a special section where we held a remembrance for Transgender Day of Remembrance. We honored Transgender Day of Visibility. These are a part of our liturgical calendar. So what I mean by a liturgical calendar is some of my, I have some buddies that are evangelical Lutherans. We all went through clinical pastoral education together, and they're always like, yeah, I don't sweat it when I'm getting ready to do my sermon because we have this calendar that tells us exactly what we're supposed to say on what day we're supposed to say it. And then we sort of riff off that. Well, as Unitarian Universalists, honoring holidays that matter to people in our communities that are essential for raising them up and increasing their visibility in a society that would make them suffer and does, is a part of our radically welcoming liturgical calendar, just like Juneteenth. Welcoming religious education. And I'm going to stare at a superstar. And the other superstar. Because our religious educator, Sarah Cannon, and our religious education team knows how to do some welcoming religious education. And that online faith formation that's happening is also radically welcoming. So thank you for doing that good work. And when you volunteer for faith formation, for children's faith formation, and shout out to Nasreen, who makes all kinds of things happen in terms of adult programming, when you say yes to show up or volunteer with our children or across the life spectrum, you are participating in radical welcome and transforming our faith. And the fifth practice is to support a welcome project. Betty Lynch. She just stepped out. All right. Give some love to Betty Lynch, and she needs you. And she needs you next Saturday for Pride. Because Betty was like, I said, hey, Betty, like, we need to be at Pride, right? And we haven't, it sort of snuck up on us. It was like, boo, it's Pride. So as a staff team, we were like, we could talk to Betty. And Betty's like, well, I'll get some waters, and we can hand out some waters to support people at Pride, to be present and really show up. But Betty needs people with her and helping out. So please check in with Betty today, because that is a welcoming project, and it is one of the ways we can show up to support each other as community. Now, these 5 practices of welcome and renewal, they are benchmarks that we need to integrate into our liturgical calendar and into our lives. And then, just like we're going to reflect today on these great questions, we get to reflect on how we're engaging with the work of welcome. So, for instance, for those of us who are a part of marginalized communities, you know, our reflection process is different, right? Emily had such powerful words that she shared when we were reflecting on the Colombia trip. And she had talked about how much it meant to her to be with people she'd known for years, who always seemed to know exactly the right thing to say and exactly the right thing to do. People who desperately want to be allies, right? For them to suddenly struggle with words and with being in a culture and a community that was not their own, and to do that from a place of love. So not only were allies being transformed and changed, but it's an opportunity for those of us with marginalized identities to be present, to see how it feels when we are actually centered and loved into being. Because I got to tell you, we don't get that a lot of places. And then to be present to the struggles of our beloveds and know that they're doing that as an act of faith and love and community. This is hard stuff, and it is sometimes painful for everybody involved, but that's where the good stuff is. It's how we really show each other that we matter. And it's how we catch the glow. Y'all know I like to have a good time. And if it's a bad time, I especially enjoy having a good time, because that's how you get through the bad times. It's one of the ways that I build resilience. When we think today about our open questions, when we're meeting together, enjoying coffee, thank you again, Channing Club. When we are choosing flowers today, and even the ones with thorns, thinking about the individuality of everyone. When we're thinking about these things, let's think about how we really our thorns, and how in that hard work of loving, we can catch the glow. This next year at All Souls. And as we're choosing those flowers, as we are staring at the faces of our beloveds of all ages, maybe wonder in our own hearts what we've been longing for to truly be embraced and loved into being by this community. And maybe wonder what face we don't know so well, has been longing for. And maybe think about what we're willing to do to help others catch the glow. So anyone, whether they are going to be here for one visit or millions, everyone who comes into this space is going to feel the love that is the spirit of all souls. And they are going to leave, and they are going to share that love, and they are going to talk about that love for years. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. It is time to begin our flower communion story. I'd like to welcome Jean and Sarah up to the chancel. Now, the flower communion is a uniquely Unitarian Universalist celebration, and it was created by Czech Unitarian ministers Dr. Norbert and Maja Čapek, who founded the modern Unitarian movement in the Czech Republic. They introduced this special service to their congregation on June 4th, 1923. Hello, centennial moment.
That's serendipitous. Dr. Čapek was born on June 3rd, 1870, in what was then Czechoslovakia. He became a reporter during the First World War. He then came to the United States, where he served in the Army intelligence during the war.
Norbert met and married Maja in New York, and they became Unitarians. They returned to Prague in 1921 and founded the Unitarian Church with the help of the American Unitarian Association. Maja was ordained in 1926.
The Prague church services consisted of lectures and some music. The Čapeks felt the lectures alone were dry and boring. Some symbolic ritual that would bring people closer together as a religious community. And it's also important to note at this time, in their place in history, it was forbidden to do communion. So this act is also a radical act of justice. And that is how the flower communion service was created.
For this service, everyone was asked to bring a flower to church, and during the service, members would place flowers inside a large vase. Toward the end of the service, each person took a different flower from the vase.
When Maja came to the United States in the spring of 1940, she introduced the flower communion to the Unitarians at First Parish Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Čapek's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human person to be, as the Nazi court's records show, too dangerous for the Reich for him to be allowed to live.
In March of 1941, Čapek and his youngest daughter were arrested by the Gestapo and sent to Dresden prison. Later, he was transferred to the Dachau concentration camp, where he was killed in October 1942.
Before his death, Čapek's courage in the face of torture and starvation was a source of inspiration to his fellow prisoners. He organized the flower communion service in prison as well. After the war, survivors testified the Unitarian minister could not have been sent to a place where he was more needed.
Dr. Čapek's message of human hope and decency, his sacrificial commitment to justice and freedom, lives on through the... And it's time now for us to share in the flower communion. I invite each of you to come forward and approach the communion vases. Thank you, Nancy Bainey, for making sure we had lots of extra beautiful flowers. So if you didn't bring a flower, know that there is one here for you. As you come forward, please gaze reverently with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness, justice, and love. I ask that you select a flower different from one you brought that particularly appeals to you as you take your chosen flower, noting its particular shape and beauty. Remember to handle it carefully. It is a gift that someone else has brought to you. It represents that each person's unique humanity, and therefore it deserves your kindest touch, even if there are thorns. Let us now share in this Unitarian Universalist ritual of oneness and love. Oh, that's gorgeous.
We are here, and a new faith is dawning. We are here, many hearts filled with hope. We are here, joining freely together, siblings and strangers, cousins and neighbors, creating new traditions, shaping what will come. We are here, we are here, we are one.
We are here, and a new faith is dawning. We are here, each with blessings and needs. We are one, bringing beauty to the table. Strangers, cousins and neighbors, nurturing each other, singing harmony. We are one, we are one, we are free.
We are free, liberated from old symbols. We are free, free to learn, grow, and serve. We are free, like flowers in the garden, siblings and strangers, cousins and neighbors, growing in courage to face the great unknown. We are free, we are free, we are home.
let us come together in a spirit of reflection with this prayer of consecration slightly adapted. These are the words of Dr. Chapek. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these flowers and the messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and gifts to be the one in desire and affection, devotion, and your holy will. May we cherish friendship as one of our most precious gifts. May we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of us all are needed to do that will in this world. May the flowers we have shared this day remind us that all are precious and all are beautiful, with each in their own unique and special way. Together, we have created an amazing bouquet. May this garden continue to flourish and bless the world. And may all of us be guided always by the transforming power of love. Amen, and blessed be. Just before he was put to death in Dachau, Dr. Chapek wrote this prayer reflecting on his own life and the state of his spirit. It's worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Oh, blow ye evil winds into my body's fire. My soul, you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, my life was worth living. They who have pressed from all sides but remained victorious in spirit are welcomed into the choir of heroes. They who overcame the fetters giving wing to the mind are entering into the golden age of the victorious. May our souls never unravel in this fight to enter a golden age of the victorious. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.